Ayaan stood still as the ground beneath him rumbled. Trees shook, birds scattered, and the familiar sounds of his home vanished in a wave of thunder. The earthquake carved a jagged scar through the savanna, splitting his herd in two. Dust filled the air. When it cleared, his family was gone, on the other side of a deep canyon. He called out, trumpeting loud and long. Only echoes answered. The earth between them was cracked and wide, too dangerous to cross. Alone, afraid, but alive, Ayaan turned away from the canyon's edge. His grandmother once told him of a place in the mountains where voices lived, a place that could guide the lost. He whispered the name, the Mountain of Echoes. Ayaan began his journey north, toward the distant peaks rising beyond the trees. The great Rift Valley stretched before him, vast and ancient. He walked carefully, each step echoing on stone. The sun beat down, drying the tears he didn't let fall. He carried his grandmother's stories in his heart, and that gave him courage. The path twisted through thorny brush and golden grass. Ayaan sniffed the air. Smoke. He followed the scent and found the scorched remains of a campsite. No people, just ash. And a carved walking stick left behind? He nudged it with his trunk. Someone had passed this way too. Searching. Just like him. At night, Ayaan curled beside a large baobab tree. He remembered how his grandmother used to hum old songs beneath its branches. He hummed now, low and shaky, hoping the stars would hear. Above him, the constellations sparkled in shapes he barely knew. But one looked like a great tusk, pointing toward the mountains. In the morning, Ayaan crossed dry riverbeds and climbed steep rocky paths. Birds screeched above, and lizards darted between cracks. His legs ached, but he pressed on. He found ancient hoof prints in the dust, faded. But elephant. His herd might have passed this way. It was enough to keep him moving. He came upon a narrow gorge. Walls tall and tight. Sounds bounced off the stone, strange and distorted. When he called out, his voice came back twisted and deep. He laughed, surprised. It was the first time he'd smiled in days. Echoes, he whispered. I must be getting close. Suddenly, a rumble. Not from below, but above. Rocks tumbled down the cliffside. Ayaan ran, dodging debris. A stone cut his leg, but he kept going until he reached a sheltered bend in the canyon. He breathed hard, heart racing, then carefully bandaged the wound with leaves and mud, just like Grandma taught him. As the sun set, Ayaan reached a plateau with carvings etched into stone. Elephants, giraffes, birds, scenes from long ago. He placed his trunk against the wall, feeling the grooves. The wind whispered through the valley like a song. He slept there, beneath the carvings, protected by history. He dreamed of his grandmother's voice, telling him stories of the ancients who walked before. You are never alone, she said in the dream. The earth remembers your steps. He woke with tears in his eyes, but his heart felt full. The mountain loomed closer now, its peak covered in mist. The climb grew steep. Ayaan's legs trembled, but he moved carefully, using his trunk for balance. He passed thorny thickets and climbed narrow paths, slipping once but regaining his footing. The wind was stronger here, colder. He wrapped himself in his memories, letting them guide him. Near the summit, he found a shallow cave. Inside, the walls shimmered with mineral streaks. When he spoke, the echo came back clear. You are strong. It wasn't his voice, or was it? He smiled again, curling into the cave. He didn't feel small anymore. He felt like he belonged to something greater. The next morning, he reached the top. The valley stretched far below. The sky opened wide above him. He stood tall, letting the wind whip through his ears. He called out, and the echoes answered. Not as copies, but as harmony. Dozens of voices, like those of his ancestors, filled the air. He closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw his grandmother, his herd, his younger self. They were all there. In that chorus. You've found the mountain, she whispered. Now find yourself. Ayaan stood in silence. The wind sang. The mountain echoed. He felt whole. Not because he had found his family, but because he had found his strength. He had walked the path alone, but never truly without guidance. He began his descent. Slower now, savoring the journey. He knew he would find his herd again one day, but he was no longer afraid to walk alone. The mountain had spoken, and he had listened. He reached the plateau and touched the carvings once more. This time, he added a mark of his own, a small swirl for the wind, and a long arc for the journey. His story was now part of the stone. As he walked, birds followed overhead. The earth seemed softer beneath his feet. He paused at a stream to drink and saw his reflection, older, wiser. A young elephant no more. Ayaan the brave. Ayaan the traveler. By the time he reached the edge of the forest again, the sun was high and golden. The baobab tree stood waiting. He rested beneath it, just as he had before, but this time, he sang boldly. His voice carried far, and this time, it returned with an answer. Across the trees, faint and soft, another trumpet call. Familiar. His eyes widened. He called again. The reply came once more. Closer. He ran, heart pounding, dodging trees and roots. He burst into a clearing, and there they were. His herd, his mother. They rushed to him, trunks wrapping around each other. He had come home. That night, the herd gathered beneath the stars. Ayaan told his story, not with words, but with sounds and movements. They listened, wide-eyed and quiet. Even the elders bowed their heads in respect. His grandmother stood at the edge of the group, smiling, not in body, but in memory. Ayaan felt her warmth, her wisdom. The wind carried her voice through the trees, whispering, "Well done." And so, the mountain stayed behind, but it echoed inside him forever. Ayaan was no longer just a young elephant. He was a keeper of stories, a walker of ancient paths. He had found his way, and helped the mountain find its voice once more.